What does it actually mean to live in one of the richest countries on Earth? There is a country where people willingly pay some of the highest taxes in the world, where parents can step away from work for months to raise their children, and where a nation built on oil wealth still chooses to live surprisingly modestly. A place where billion-dollar resources exist beneath the ocean, yet many people spend their free time in tiny wooden cabins surrounded by forests, mountains, and silence. From the outside, Norway looks like a country that has already won, but appearances can be deceiving. So how did a small nation surrounded by freezing seas and endless mountains become one of the richest societies on Earth, while still choosing a life built around simplicity, community, and balance? To understand Norway, you have to look beyond its wealth and into the relationship between its people, its land, and the way they have learned to live together, because that's where its true wealth begins. Far north, in a small coastal village, a fisherman prepares his boat before sunrise. In a quiet neighbourhood, families gather around warm kitchens while snow covers the streets outside. Deep in the mountains, wooden cabins sit beneath endless forests, waiting for people searching for something modern life often takes away: silence. This is Norway, a country where futuristic cities exist beside untouched wilderness, where ancient traditions survive inside one of the world's most advanced societies, and where wealth is measured not only by what people own, but by the security, freedom, and time they have to enjoy life. But this way of living was not created overnight. It began with the one force that has shaped Norway for thousands of years: the land itself. Norway begins where the land appears almost impossible. Along the western coast, deep blue fjords cut through towering mountains that rise directly from the sea. Waterfalls fall from cliffs carved by ancient glaciers, while small villages sit quietly along the shoreline, surrounded by forests, islands, and endless stretches of wilderness, almost untouched by time. Here, nature is not something people visit occasionally. It is the environment that decides the rhythm of everyday life. Over thousands of years, massive glaciers slowly moved across the land, carving valleys, shaping coastlines, and creating the fjords that define Norway today. The result is a country of dramatic contrasts: rugged mountains, Arctic islands, deep forests, and vast northern landscapes, where the seasons completely transform the world around them. But this beauty came with challenges. For centuries, Norway was not an easy place to build a society. Mountains separated communities, farmland was limited, and harsh winters tested the ability of people to survive. In many coastal areas, the sea became the most reliable connection between villages. Boats were not just a way to travel. They were the roads that connected families, carried supplies, and brought food home. They made survival possible. This difficult relationship with nature created a culture built around resilience. A fisherman preparing his boat before sunrise still depends on the same forces that shaped Norway centuries ago. The weather determines when he leaves. The ocean determines what he brings back. The sea provides opportunity, but it also demands respect. Further north, the Sami people developed a deep connection with the Arctic landscape through traditions such as reindeer herding. Their knowledge of seasonal changes, migration patterns, and the environment represents one of the oldest relationships between humans and the Norwegian wilderness. But nature in Norway is not only about survival, it is also about happiness. The Norwegian concept of friluftsliv, meaning open-air living, reflects a belief that spending time outdoors is essential for a balanced life. Hiking through forests, skiing across snowy mountains, and visiting simple wooden cabins known as hytter are not luxury experiences here. They are a way of life. They are part of everyday culture. Children grow up learning that rain, snow, and cold temperatures are not obstacles to avoid. They are simply part of the landscape they belong to. This connection becomes even more powerful during Norway's extreme seasons. In the north, Summer brings the midnight sun, allowing people to hike and work beneath endless daylight. Winter brings long periods of darkness, but instead of retreating indoors, many Norwegians embrace skiing, outdoor gatherings, and the quiet beauty of the frozen landscape. Nature has also provided the foundation for Norway's modern success. Its rivers generate enormous amounts of renewable hydropower. Its coastline supports one of the world's largest seafood industries, and its natural resources helped create the wealth that supports the country today. But that is only part of the story. Yet the greatest influence of nature cannot be measured in money. It can be seen in the values it created. Living among mountains teaches humility. Living beside the sea teaches patience. Facing long winters teaches appreciation for warmth, family, and community. Norway's landscape did not simply create a beautiful country, it created a certain way of living. But if nature shaped the Norwegian mindset, how does that philosophy appear in the ordinary moments of everyday life? A morning in Norway usually begins with a sense of calm rather than urgency. In Oslo, commuters travel through efficient public transport networks, cyclists move through quiet streets, and cafes slowly fill with people beginning their day. Outside the capital, the rhythm changes, but the values remain similar. In coastal communities, fishermen prepare their equipment before heading into the sea, while in rural areas, families continue traditions connected to farming, nature, and local communities. Although Norway is highly modern, daily life is still shaped by a strong connection between people and their surroundings. One of the defining characteristics of Norwegian society is the importance placed on time. Work is considered important, but it is not expected to dominate every part of life. Many workplaces offer flexible schedules, and there is a strong cultural expectation that people should have enough time for family, personal interests, and outdoor activities. This philosophy begins from childhood. Norway provides extensive support for families, including generous parental leave policies that allow parents to spend more time with newborn children. The education system emphasises independence, creativity, and cooperation, while childcare services make it easier for parents to balance professional and personal responsibilities. Healthcare follows a similar principle. The system is built around the idea that access to medical care should not depend entirely on personal income. Hospitals, local clinics, and emergency services are supported through a welfare model funded by the population as a whole. However, this system depends on something less visible than money, something even more valuable. It depends on trust. Norwegians generally have strong confidence in public institutions because they see the benefits of the system in their everyday lives. People contribute through high taxes, but they also receive services designed to provide security throughout different stages of life. This relationship between citizens and society is connected to a cultural value known as janteloven. Although it originated from literature, the idea reflects a broader Norwegian preference for modesty and equality. In many situations, openly displaying wealth or presenting yourself as more important than others is viewed negatively. This explains why luxury often takes a different form in Norway. A person living in one of the richest countries on earth may value a weekend in a simple mountain cabin more than an expensive possession. The traditional hit represents a different understanding of comfort, where the goal is not to escape life but to reconnect with family, nature, and simplicity. However, Norwegian daily life is not without difficulties. The cost of living is among the highest in the world, especially in major cities where housing prices continue to rise. Remote communities also face challenges as younger generations move toward urban areas for education and employment opportunities. Despite these pressures, many Norwegians continue to value the balance their society provides. They have built a culture where success is not measured only by income or status, but also by security, freedom, and the ability to enjoy ordinary moments. Because perhaps the greatest achievement of Norwegian life is not that people have more than others, it is that they have created a society where people often have more time for what truly matters. The identity of this country was not created only through political decisions or economic success. It was formed through generations of communities that lived between mountains, forests and seas, where survival depended on cooperation and where traditions became a way of preserving knowledge. The earliest foundations of Norwegian identity reach back to the Viking Age, when seafaring communities explored distant lands, developed advanced ships, and created trade routes across the North Atlantic. Although the Viking era is often remembered through stories of exploration and conflict, the deeper legacy is a culture shaped by independence, adaptability, and a willingness to face uncertain environments. Those values can still be felt in Norway today. Over time, Norway changed dramatically. The country experienced centuries of political unions, first with Denmark and later with Sweden, before becoming fully independent in 1905. The hardships of these periods strengthened the importance of language, local customs and cultural traditions because they became symbols of belonging. In a country where mountains and fjords separated communities for generations, local identity became incredibly important. Different regions developed their own dialects, clothing styles, music and traditions. These differences were not seen as divisions. Instead, they became pieces of a larger national identity. One of the clearest examples is Norway's traditional clothing. The bunad is worn during important celebrations, especially on May 17th, the country's Constitution Day. However, it is not simply a historical costume brought out for performances. Many Norwegians wear it with genuine pride because every detail represents something personal, from regional patterns to family history. The same connection exists through music and storytelling. Traditional folk songs and dances preserve memories from earlier generations, while the ancient practice of joik among the Sami people continues to carry stories of landscapes, ancestors, and identity through song. The Sami culture represents another important chapter in Norway's story. Long before modern borders existed, Sami communities lived across northern Scandinavia, developing a close relationship with Arctic environments through reindeer herding, fishing, and seasonal movement. Their traditions provide a different perspective on the relationship between people and nature, one based on respect, adaptation, and responsibility. However, Norway's identity has never remained frozen in the past. It continues to evolve. Over recent decades, immigration has transformed the country's cities and communities. Places like Oslo have become increasingly multicultural, where Norwegian traditions exist alongside influences from around the world. Restaurants, languages, festivals, and neighbourhoods now reflect a society that is both historically rooted and constantly changing. This creates a challenge faced by many modern nations. How do you protect traditions without preventing change? Norway continues to navigate this question. Some believe preserving historical customs is essential for maintaining national identity, while others argue that cultures survive because they adapt to new realities. The country's answer has been a constant search for balance. A person can celebrate ancient traditions while working in a modern technology industry. A family can preserve regional customs while embracing a more diverse society. A nation can remember where it came from while still deciding where it wants to go. Deep beneath the waters of a Norwegian fjord, vehicles travel through a tunnel that would have once seemed impossible to build. Above them, mountains rise thousands of feet into the sky, and islands remain separated by powerful ocean currents. So, how did a country divided by mountains, islands, and extreme weather create one of the most connected societies in the world? For much of Norway's history, geography determined the limits of human movement. A village surrounded by mountains could feel completely isolated from the next community. A journey that appears short on a map could require hours of travel by boat. During winter storms, some areas could become temporarily disconnected from the outside world. But instead of allowing geography to control their future, Norwegians began building ways to work with it. Modern Norway is connected by a network of roads, bridges, ferries, tunnels, and digital systems designed to overcome some of the most difficult terrain on Earth. The country's engineers face challenges that few places experience. roads must pass through mountains, survive freezing temperatures, and remain functional despite heavy snowfall and unpredictable weather. The result is a landscape where engineering exists alongside nature. One of the most impressive examples is Norway's sub-sea tunnel system. Rather than building long routes around the coastline, engineers created passages beneath the ocean floor, allowing communities separated by water to become part of the same transport network. These tunnels are more than transportation projects. They represent a national philosophy. Distance should not determine opportunity. A person living on a remote island should still have access to schools, healthcare, jobs, and modern services. This same principle can be seen in Norway's energy system. The country's mountains and rivers provide ideal conditions for hydropower, which supplies most of its electricity. Water flowing through Norway's landscapes has become one of the foundations of its economy, and a major reason the country has been able to develop a low-carbon electricity system. At the same time, Norway has invested heavily in digital connectivity. Even people living in remote northern communities can access high-speed internet, online government services, and financial systems that allow them to participate in the wider economy. This creates one of Norway's most interesting contrasts. Someone can live beside a quiet fjord, surrounded by wilderness, while remaining connected to the same digital world as someone living in Oslo. Transportation within cities reflects the same approach. Public transport systems, cycling networks, and electric vehicle infrastructure have transformed urban mobility. Norway has become one of the world leaders in electric vehicle adoption, supported by policies designed to encourage cleaner transportation. However, maintaining the system is expensive and challenging. A bridge exposed to Arctic storms requires constant maintenance. A tunnel beneath the sea requires advanced technology and careful monitoring. A road connecting a small village may serve only a limited population, but still remain essential for equality. This reveals something important about Norway's approach. Infrastructure is not viewed only as a way to increase economic growth. It is viewed as a way to protect communities. The country's wealth has allowed it to invest in ambitious projects, but the deeper motivation comes from a belief that where someone lives should not decide the quality of life they experience. Norway did not eliminate the challenges created by nature. Instead, it created a system that allows people to live with them. But building such an advanced society required enormous resources, and the source of Norway's economic transformation would come from beneath the same seas that had shaped its history for centuries. Before the discovery of offshore oil in the late 20th century, the nation depended largely on fishing, farming, shipping, and industries connected to its natural environment. Many communities survived through hard work and careful use of limited resources. The discovery of oil and gas changed everything. When large reserves were found beneath the North Sea, Norway gained access to enormous economic opportunities. Energy exports created new industries, thousands of jobs, and a level of national wealth that completely transformed the country's future. But Norway approached this opportunity differently from many resource-rich nations. Instead of using the profits for immediate spending, the country created the Government Pension Fund Global, one of the world's largest sovereign wealth funds. The idea was simple but unusual. The income from natural resources should benefit not only the current generation, but also the people who would live in Norway decades into the future. Few countries had ever planned so far ahead. Oil wealth was treated as a temporary advantage, not an unlimited source of money. The fund became a way to convert underground resources into long-term financial security. It was an investment in future generations. Rather than allowing the economy to depend entirely on oil prices, Norway invested the profits globally, creating a financial reserve designed to support public services and economic stability. This decision reflects a deeper part of Norwegian culture. Planning for the future has always been important in a country where nature can change quickly. Just as fishermen prepare for unpredictable seas and families prepare for harsh winters, Norway approached its natural resources with caution and patience. However, oil is only one part of the economy. The sea continues to play a central role through fishing and aquaculture. Norway has become one of the world's largest exporters of seafood, especially salmon, with advanced farming systems supplying markets across the globe. Coastal communities that depended on fishing for centuries continue to connect their modern industries with traditional knowledge. Beyond the ocean, Norway has developed strong sectors in renewable energy, technology, manufacturing, shipping and services. The country's highly educated workforce and stable institutions have helped create an environment where innovation can grow. The economic model also depends heavily on trust between workers, businesses and government. Norway has strong labour unions, collective agreements, and relatively low levels of income inequality compared with many developed countries. Employees often have significant protections, while companies benefit from a stable and skilled workforce. This balance has helped create an economy where cooperation is considered more valuable than extreme competition. However, Norway's wealth also creates difficult questions. The country remains one of the world's major exporters of oil and gas, even while supporting international climate goals and investing in renewable energy. This creates a tension between economic success and environmental responsibility. The challenge for the future is clear. How does a country built on fossil fuel wealth transition toward a cleaner economy without damaging the prosperity that supports its society? Norway is investing in new industries, green technologies, and cleaner energy solutions, but the transition will take time. The story of Norway's economy is not simply about becoming rich. It is about managing success carefully. The oil beneath the sea gave Norway an opportunity, but the decisions made afterward determined what that opportunity would become. From the outside, Norway can appear almost like an ideal society. Wealthy, peaceful, environmentally conscious and secure. But no country exists without struggles. Behind the clean cities, strong welfare system, and breathtaking landscapes are difficult questions about climate change, inequality, identity and the future direction of the country. Questions that will shape the next generation. One of the biggest challenges comes from the environment that shapes Norway itself. The Arctic regions are warming faster than many other parts of the planet, affecting glaciers, wildlife, and traditional ways of life. Changing ocean temperatures influence fish populations, creating uncertainty for communities that have depended on the sea for generations. The country also faces a complicated relationship with energy. Norway has invested heavily in renewable electricity, especially hydropower, and presents itself as a leader in climate solutions. At the same time, it remains a major exporter of oil and gas, resources that have contributed greatly to its economic success. This creates a difficult balance. Can a country continue benefiting from fossil fuel wealth while leading the transition toward a cleaner future? There is no simple answer. Another challenge is maintaining strong communities in a changing society. Many rural areas are experiencing population decline as younger people leave smaller towns for education and employment opportunities in larger cities. Some villages that once depended on fishing, farming, or traditional industries now face the challenge of keeping local life active. Urban areas experience different pressures. Cities such as Oslo have seen rising housing costs, making it harder for some people to afford homes. Although Norway has relatively low inequality compared with many countries, not everyone experiences prosperity in the same way. There are also social challenges connected to integration and identity. As Norway becomes more multicultural, debates continue about how to balance national traditions with the realities of a changing population. Many immigrants have successfully built lives in Norway, contributing to workplaces, communities and culture. But questions about inclusion, language, and belonging remain part of public discussion. For the Sami people, another important challenge involves protecting indigenous rights. Conflicts over land use, infrastructure projects, and energy development have created debates about how Norway should balance economic growth with the preservation of traditional ways of life. These challenges reveal something important about Norway. A successful society is not one that has no problems. It is one that continues confronting them. The country has developed policies addressing climate change, social inequality, housing, and integration, but every solution creates new questions. Progress requires constant adjustment, negotiation, and a willingness to recognize that even successful systems can improve. Perhaps the greatest challenge for Norway is protecting the qualities that made it successful in the first place. Can it maintain trust while society changes? Can it protect nature while continuing economic growth? Can it preserve traditions while becoming more connected to the world? These questions will shape Norway's future, because the true test of a nation is not whether it reaches prosperity. It is whether it can protect the values that created that prosperity. And this is what makes Norway such a fascinating country. Its story is not about perfection, but about balance between wealth and responsibility, progress and tradition, nature and modern life. So how does it actually feel to live in one of the richest countries on Earth? It is not simply about wealth, high incomes, or a powerful economy. It is about the security of knowing that society is built to support you, the freedom to spend time with family, and the ability to remain connected to nature in a rapidly changing world. And that is what makes Norway unique, a place where ancient landscapes, modern systems, and human values continue to exist side by side. A country that discovered wealth beneath the ocean, but found its greatest strength in the people living above it.